Hello everyone, and welcome to the Why Does My Horse podcast series. My name is Vigita, and I've been working with horses for over 25 years now. I also have a degree in psychology and a number of qualifications in equine behavior and a never-ending love of learning more about the science behind horse behavior. This podcast is aimed at answering some common questions you might have about your beloved horse child, using science and experience as our guide. So, all of that aside, let's get into it. What a brat! He is such a naughty little bugger. If you have never whispered these words to yourself while handling a horse-induced disaster, you're probably doing horse ownership wrong. Chances are your horse has managed to flummox you on more than one occasion, and you could swear he's doing it on purpose. Throughout history, horses and humans have come a long way and have worked hard to forge an alliance between two species with opposite needs and drives. While we initially hunted horses for their meat and coats, we have come to a point in history where we keep them as pets and regard them as part of the family. However, domesticated bliss comes with some T's and C's, as we have a number of expectations of our horses regarding their behavior towards us and other horses or animals that we bring into their environments. When horses don't meet these expectations, we believe they are misbehaving, as if they have carefully considered what we want and then deliberately chosen not to comply just to spite us. To ask why a horse misbehaves is like asking why we have poverty in the world. It's an enormous question with nauenced details that we couldn't possibly unravel in one sitting. But we're going to cover 3 good starting points to consider next time your horse behaves like an insolent toddler. Number 1, unintentional learning. This is an option most of us don't want to consider because we feel like it would make us bad horse owners, or at least very stupid ones. The truth, however, is that training our horses is a tricky process, where we sometimes do things we don't intend to. An excellent example of this is missing good behavior when it comes our way. Humans are excellent at noticing things that are there, as opposed to noticing when behavior isn't there. An example might make this easier to understand. You have a horse who tends to nip you when you lead him on the halter. It's annoying, and your hands look like you've gone toe-to-toe with Rocky Balboa. Every time your horse nips, you actively work on deterring him, but you forget to notice and reward the moments when he isn't nipping you. We've all heard that negative attention is better than no attention, and this is the case with our nipping horse. He doesn't get any attention or praise when he's doing nothing, which in this case is exactly what we want. So he does something that he knows will work. He nips and he gets a reaction. Humans are wired to ignore the moments where nothing is happening, or we just arrogantly assume our horse owes it to us and don't actively reward this behavior. The result is often unwanted behavior that we unwittingly trained. Number 2 is fear, pain, or fear of pain. The horse who bites when you put your saddle on, or the horse who kicks out at your dog that you brought to the barn, or the horse who lifts his head when you want to bridle him, or the horse who refuses every jump you put in his path. The list goes on and on and on. Horses behave badly because they are afraid, or are in pain, or are afraid of being in pain. Horses are prey animals. They are hot-wired to make a run for it at the slightest drop of a hat. Their brains also form more profound memories of negative situations, so that they can avoid them faster next time round. Most behavior we label as naughty is our horse trying to get away from something that he believes will hurt him. It really doesn't matter if this belief is logical or not. You can't rationalize with the instinctive need of the horse to run away from things he doesn't understand or that hurt him. How often do we get frustrated with our horses for doing things that are illogical to our predator brains? You can't be mad at him for being like this. This is his neurological wiring and you can't change it. You can, however, learn to work with it. It takes a lot of empathy and humility to look at the world through our equine's eyes. Don't just find a trainer or guru you like and follow them. Dig into the science of why horses do what they do. This will take you so much further than any program can, and your horse will be so much better for it. Number 3, unmet needs. When we hear the phrase unmet needs, we think of hungry, shivering horses with long, curled-up hooves and sad eyes. Obviously, these horses have unmet needs. But what about the horses in beautiful stables, being fed 3 times a day with monthly chiro appointments and their own personal paddocks? Surely they have everything they need, right? Probably not. Horses have 3 basic needs: food, friends, and freedom. Most of us are sympathetic towards the food situation. Some of us feed our horses better than we feed ourselves. It makes sense to us to keep our horses looking glossy and sleek, and for the most part, we appreciate the horse's need for decent forage. But what about friends? Well, if he puts his head out of his stable door, he can see his friends. So that's cool, right? Well, not really. Horses are surprisingly intimate creatures, often choosing to snuggle up when they sleep, or simply touching a friend with their nose while they snooze. Being in an individual stable is really hard for them, and it's even harder when they are isolated outside. Horses who are labeled as aggressive would probably be less aggressive if they were able to live in a herd as opposed to being isolated. In humans, we recognize that isolation is a form of punishment or even torture. Apply this to a species whose survival depends on being socially connected. It might give you a guilty twinge in your gut to imagine how your horse is feeling. We have the same situation with the need for freedom. We put our horses out in paddocks for a few hours a day, ideally, but they spend the majority of their time confined. No matter how big or pretty a stable is, it's not the same as roaming over kilometers of land grazing. This is a difficult situation because practically most of us simply can't have our horses roaming on huge pieces of land, either due to space or weather. Taking that away from our horses means that we have the responsibility to ease the mental anxiety of the situation as much as we can, by any means we can. Stable enrichment and grass placed in small heaps in different parts of the stable can make a difference. You can play around with whatever works for you and your horse. Either way, remember to factor in this potential anxiety when your horse is acting up, behaving poorly. The less natural his environment is, the more anxious your horse will be, and the more likely he is to be aversive or aggressive. All horse behavior is a form of communication. It is up to us to listen without judging and hear what our horse is telling us. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new about our incredible equine friends. I feel like it's compulsory to add that it would be great if you could like, share, comment, and subscribe. We're also available on Apple Podcast as well as Podcast for Spotify. See you next time.